Hey guys, this is AM. I wanted to do a video of me talking because I guess this channel, like I was saying in my bio, if you've even looked at that yet, I just made this channel. I haven't been drumming for too long, about 10 months, and a lot of that 10 months was learning basic things like rudiments and that kind of thing. So I'm still very much a beginner. But I wanted to use this channel as not only a place for me to post things that I'm practicing and working on, but also to like chat. So anyway, that is what I'm doing here today. So this is like my little room. My drums are behind me. And you're probably wondering, why does she have towels on top of her toms? Well, that's a funny story. Sometimes when I'm playing and I don't want to be too loud, I play like muted and I just throw a towel over top of my toms. So yeah, that happens. I also have this lovely skirt that goes over my floor toms sometimes when I need it to be not as loud. So yeah, that's why I have towels over my toms. I also put a t-shirt over top of my snare as well when I practice. So yeah, anyway, this is my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles mug because I love Ninja Turtles, turtle power. I love this mug. So yeah. Anyway, moving on to like the point of this video. So I wanted to make a video about the top 10 albums I think that you should listen to before you die. Let me just start off by saying that my taste in music is vast, and putting a list of top 10 is very difficult for me, so this isn't necessarily like my 10 favorite albums of all time, but it's 10 albums that are very unique that I think you should definitely listen to. So here we go with number 1. And I have my handy dandy notebook here so that I can read them to you because I had to write them down so I wouldn't forget. Number 1 is Pet Sounds by the Beach Boys. And if you're not familiar with the Beach Boys, then you probably don't know much about Brian Wilson, but I am a huge fan of Brian Wilson. He is just, musically, he is a genius. The thing with the Beach Boys is their early stuff was very much controlled by their father, and very poppy sounding kind of stuff, like poppy boy band of the time period. But what Brian Wilson wanted to do was sort of branch out and experiment, and that's what Pet Sounds kind of brought to the table for them. And so it's very different musically, and it's very unique, and that's why I love it. It's my favorite Beach Boys album because of that fact that I like experimental stuff, and just what he was doing at the time with that was so musically unique and cool. He also had another album that he wanted to put out called Smiley Smile, and the Beach Boys kind of put something out for that. Well, it was actually originally supposed to be called Smile, but the direction he was going was far from what any of them wanted to do. So in the early 2000s, I want to say, he actually got people together so that he could create the album he always wanted to create, Smile. And the sad thing about it is a lot of it was lost over time, but they were able to recreate basically what he wanted to do for the album, and it's really awesome. But that is like so aside from the album Pet Sounds, but I just wanted to give you some background about that. But anyway, definitely check out Pet Sounds. It is a very good album. All right, number 2, The Soft Bulletin by the Flaming Lips. The Flaming Lips have always been like one of my favorite bands growing up, like in middle school and high school, mostly because of my brother, because he really got me into like Radiohead and the Flaming Lips and other bands like that. And I didn't get into the Soft Bulletin until college, which is crazy because I had been listening to them for so long. I had never listened to the Soft Bulletin, and it is my favorite Flaming Lips album by far. I think it came out in 99, I want to say, 98, 99. But the thing I love about it the most is just the sound. The recording quality and the sound of it is so cool. The drums have this like neat sort of echoey big sound that I really enjoy. And that's a big reason why I love the album is the drumming. And, I only started drumming, fairly recently. And I've noticed just like by going back and listening to a lot of the music I liked growing up, that I really did like a lot of albums with great drumming in them, which makes me feel good about, then transitioning into learning to play drums because I'm already very familiar with, certain songs and music, so that's really helpful. But yes, the Soft Bulletin is a masterpiece in my eyes. Actually, the label for that album was Warner Brothers, which is very interesting because I don't think they were on that label for... Well, I don't know. They were on that... I don't know if they're still on that label or not. But a lot of interesting... it was interesting to me. Anyway, so that's number 2. Number 3, I'm going to go right in with Radiohead. My suggestion is to listen to Kid A by Radiohead. I know a lot of you are going to be like, what are you talking about? You should be suggesting OK Computer. Well, Kid A was the first album I ever listened to by Radiohead. My brother made me listen to it when I was in the 7th grade. And that album to me, it spoke to me then. And I'd never listened to any Radiohead. And if you know anything about Radiohead, you know that Kid A is very, experimental. I mean, they're a very experimental band. But in comparison to OK Computer, which more people can usually get into because it still has that sort of 90s rock kind of sound. Then you get into things like Kid A, where it's very experimental, very out there, and a lot of people just don't prefer that. It's just not their thing. But I was hooked on it from the beginning, so I suggest listening to that album. That and Amnesiac, from what I have read, are sort of supposed to be twin albums, because I think they were created or recorded around the same time period of years. Don't completely trust what I'm saying on that. I might be wrong. That's also a Radiohead song on the album Amnesiac. See, I told you, I'm a total music nerd. I know way too much, and a lot of that is because of my older brother who got me into a lot of music, and he knows a lot of random facts about music. But yes, Kid A is an essential Radiohead album. If you've only listened to their newer stuff, you really need to go back and listen to that older stuff because it really shows you how far they've come as a band. I've actually, when I was younger, I got all the Radiohead albums starting with Pablo Honey, and I listened to all of them in order, and it was just cool. I just sat down one day and said, I'm going to listen to all these albums in chronological order. And it's just really cool to hear the transition of their sound from then to now. And even now, it's even more, interesting to see that, to hear that. All right. I know I ramble. I have a feeling this video is going to be a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So I'm sorry. Number 4 is Discovery by Daft Punk. I love Daft Punk, and that album to me is just so awesome. It's, I don't know, it's everything. It reminds me of high school, middle school, and I don't know, it's just awesome. There is a movie or video that goes with it, and you can find it on YouTube. I strongly suggest you actually watch that because it's the coolest thing ever. I mean, the fact that they're able to, not only create this awesome music, but have this storyline, this, short film that goes along with it, which I don't really know much about the backstory of how it was made and why or anything like that. I've just watched the video and just been amazed at, you know, how cool it was that they were able to do that. So it's definitely something that you want to sit down and do, because it's just really neat. I love it when artists take, you know, their music and ideas and make a movie out of it, or make some kind of theatrical thing about, you know, what they're doing. I just think that's neat. Kind of reminds me of, just me saying that, the album Scenes from a Memory, is that it? Is that what it's called? By Dream Theater. But that's totally like not even on my list. But that's another one. It's actually an actual story as you go through and listen to the album, which is really cool. Anyway, moving on, because we're not talking about Dream Theater right now. See My Mind, it goes a million places. All right, number 5 is Demon Days by Gorillaz. I am a huge Gorillaz fan, actually, and I listened to their new album a little while ago, a few months. When did it come out? I can't remember when it came out, but it was a while ago. I want to say it was months ago, maybe a month or 2 ago. I don't know. But anyway, their new album, I am kind of like 50-50 on, because there were a lot of good tracks on there that I enjoyed, but there was some that I was like, I can't really get into this. I don't know if it was like the style of, like, you know, how they always have like rappers or other singers come into their songs. I don't know if it had to do with that or if it had to do with other things, but some of it is really, really good. Some of it, but Demon Days is like an essential Gorillaz album. And if you've never listened to that, I mean, that is the essential. You have to listen to that. But yeah, so Gorillaz. Number 6 is Off the Wall by Michael Jackson. Now, I would say Thriller or I would say Bad, because those were like the 2 big albums that I remember listening to as a kid and really enjoying, because they're awesome. But I wanted to pick something that wasn't what every other person might choose, because, yeah, I feel like this album especially, I didn't really fully appreciate Off the Wall until I was a bit older and I really listened to it. But I love the fact that it still has that sort of disco groove to it. And I mean, the drumming in that is superb. I mean, I love that style, just disco, just very much grooving. I really enjoy it, and I just love that. I love that you can hear that those pieces of disco that were still kind of around at that time. And then you listen to like Michael Jackson's later stuff. Thriller even, I would say, still has some of that in it. But once you get to like, you know, the 80s and stuff like that, you know, he takes on a different style. And he's one of those artists who was able to adapt to the changing trends in music, and that's what made him so popular and so famous, was the fact that he was able to do that. And so, of course, props to him for everything that he did for music, because he really was like legendary with all of that stuff. So yes, Off the Wall, you definitely need to listen to. You've probably heard like the first 2 tracks. The first one is Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, and the second one is Rock With You, which I'm sure you've heard. She's Out of My Life is also on that album, but it's songs like Girlfriend and Workin' Day and Night and Burn This Disco Out that I love about that album, because again, it's got that groove to it, it's got that feel to it, and it's really awesome. All right, number 7, we're almost done. Number 7 is By the Way by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Most people would probably say Californication, which I grew up listening to that, and I absolutely love that album. My mom actually got me into the Chili Peppers. However, By the Way, when I was growing up, I went through a lot of like, depression and sadness and all sorts of things like that. And for some reason, the album By the Way always like was an album I put on that got me through hard times. And it's just such a great album. All of the songs are great on it. And I just like stylistically, I can't talk, stylistically what they were doing with it at the time. I really like the song Dosed. That song to me, I always really, I don't know, that song always like really, I don't know if I want to say spoke to me, because from what I've read, it's about something about, I'm not exactly sure what it's about, but it's something about an abortion or something, or losing a baby or something. But I don't know, that song always, like, whenever I hear it, I don't know, I'm just like, I love this song. And the song I Could Die For You, really good. Universally Speaking, I love that song. I could say that about all the songs on the album though, but I'm just naming out particular ones that I really enjoy. Number 8 is Toxicity by System of a Down. I would say I was going to pick from either Hypnotize or Mesmerize, but both of those albums to me are like equally good, and I found that I'd probably be playing Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo to pick which one to say that I like more. So I decided to go with Toxicity instead, which is a classic, so you can't go wrong with that. But Toxicity, I remember buying that album when I was in middle school, and I seriously wore that CD out all through middle school and high school. I mean, I don't think I still have the CD, but it had like scratches all over it. And I love System of a Down. Especially the drumming, but just musically, everything that they've done has been so awesome. And they're one of those bands that, like, you listen to something like Toxicity and you're like, okay, their next album is going to be more of the same. Well, no, not at all. I mean, they really have a unique style, and each one of their songs has this uniqueness to it. And that's what I really love about them. You can tell that they're not just playing the same things over and over again. It's a lot of musicality and thought and art and creativity goes into what they make. And I really appreciate them a lot. I like to do karaoke, and one of my favorite bands to do karaoke of is System of a Down, because you can have so much fun with people like singing along to those songs. It's awesome. All right, number 9 is Pocketful of Kryptonite by the Spin Doctors. If you've never heard of the Spin Doctors and you are a drummer, you are missing out on something. Because seriously, that album, it is gold. Every time I listen to it, I'm just blown away by how amazing it actually is. A lot of people know the song Two Princes, because that was like one of their biggest hits. But there's this song on there called What Time Is It? And that's one of my favorites. I love the drums in that. There's also a song at the end of the CD called Shinbone Alley, and then there's like a bonus track. The song is like, I don't know, 10 minutes long. That is an awesome groove. I mean, it is golden. And then my other favorite is, I think it's called Refrigerator Car. You need to listen to those songs. I mean, they are absolutely awesome. 90s music, but they were definitely a really cool, and to me, a very unique band back then. And my mom got me into them too when I was younger, and I just remember rocking out with my mom to the Spin Doctors when I was younger, and it's a good memory. All right, last one, number 10. This is, I guess, a newer-ish album / band. I don't know too much about, but I love this album. The album is called Parrot Kazem by Washed Out. If you know anything about this band, you probably know their song that was is featured in Portlandia, I think. I forget the name of the song, but it's not from this album. This album, Parrot Kazem, came out, I don't know, I'm guessing, because I don't have, like, my computer's turned off and I'm using my phone to record. I'm guessing it came out in, like, 2010? Maybe. I don't know. I could be wrong. But what I really love about this album is it blows me away every time I listen to it. It's very creative. Washed Out is this guy, I forget where he's from, but he uses a lot of old, like, I think samples of sounds and other things to create the sound of his music. And Parrot Kazem, like, I didn't know what that word meant when I first listened to the album, so I looked up the word, and if I'm remembering correctly, which again, correct me if I'm wrong, it means something like, it's kind of like nostalgia, like childhood. It's like a childhood story, elaborate story that a child would have, of like an elaborate dream or something like that. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but the idea of it is so cool, and you can see how that idea has been incorporated into the album itself. So look up the definition of Parrot Kazem, because I know I got that totally off or wrong. But definitely look up the meaning, because it will really help you understand and connect with the music as you listen to it. So, those were my 10 picks, at least for today. Like I said, there are a lot of albums that are my favorite of all time that I did not put on this list. So, yeah, that is just my list of songs that you should listen to, albums that you should listen to before you die, for today, of just what I was thinking in my head today. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me take a sip of my drink because my mouth is dry. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really hope that you will keep up with my channel, not just like drumming that I do on the channel, but also just like videos like this where I'm just talking about, you know, different cool things, and we can have a conversation. If you have some ideas for 10 albums that you think are really phenomenal that you think I should listen to before I die, tell me in the comments. I would love to know other albums and other music if I'm not familiar with it, and yeah, that would be cool. So anyway, I'm gonna go now because this video is way too long. I don't even know how I'm gonna upload all this, but I'm gonna try. Thank you for listening, and I will see you around. Bye.